Okay, we're back live. So the whole Seder Ishtalshalos, Sai Bedashmias, and Sai in the spiritual world are all within time. Okay? Shem Havaya is Veloshin Haya Haya Ka'echad.
Is that affecting also the Yisira?
Time?
Yeah, time.
Yes, but not
All the
physical.
four worlds.
Yes, but not physical time. There's
There's also spiritual time.
There's spiritual time. Spiritual time means when you say that something comes before something else, before you can have the world of Yetzirah, so to speak, or that might be Milo Mata. I'm not familiar exactly how you when you say Kdima ve'ichor, it's explained that Zman is Kdima ve'ichor, what comes first and what comes second, and space is what's Milo Mata, what's higher and what's lower. I haven't learned the subject to be able to say exactly what's meant with that, but the way but the way I understand it is that before a midday you must have seichel. So it's k'dim v'eichur. But you could also say it's milo mata. I don't know. But there is spiritual time, whatever that means. Whatever that means, it's different entirely from time in this world. So Shem Havaya, on the other hand, is higher than time and space. As we see that it says it's Haya Haya V'Yeh Ka'echad. Shem Havaya contains within it the past, the present, and the future all at one time. So it's higher than space and time. But nevertheless, he points out that it has a connection. Because if you're going to say that it's past, present, and future all at once, it means that the concept, the idea of time exists to it. Only it could contain past, present, and future all at once. But from the fact that there is a past, there is a present, and there is a future, that these concepts exist to it, so it means that it already has a shaykhis to hishtalshlus. However, but the essence of the Eibishter is higher than Ishtalshlus entirely. And certainly Atzmas Mulus is higher than Moshe. Hainu Shulamayla Mishneim. So this Shlishi Hamadaber, which is Atzmus, is higher than Moshe and higher than Shem Havaya. No, they're sailed. Was is vorgekommen in Seder Hishtalshlus. Just that the Shlishi Hamadaber is saying what happened in a different place, in a place that's much lower than it in Seder Hishtalshlus. As Vayidaber Havaya El Moshe. And that's the Shlishi Hamadaber, that's the level of Atzmus. And he goes into it in a little bit more detail. The entire Seder Hishtalshlus comes in a system of twos. There's always two that relate to each other, that work with each other. You have B'chinas Mamal Kalamin, and you have what's corresponding to the B'chinas Seviv Kalamin. On the one hand, you have the level of Elikus, the way it encloses itself in the world, and at the same time, you have the level that's beyond enclosing itself in the world. You have B'chinas Eiris and B'chinas Kalim. You have the Eiris, which are higher, B'chinas Kalim, which are lower, and the Eiris come into the Kalim. You have the B'chinas Eir K'meishu Hula Atzmei. You have the Eir, the way it is within himself or on his own without relating to others, and the way the light reveals itself to others. So you can't. The entire Seder Hishtalshlus is a system of two parts that work with each other. So that's these two levels of Havaya and Moshe. Avol and that's what the pasuk that says that he will enliven us in the first 2 days or from 2 days is referring to these Yemayim is the two levels that encompass the entire Seder Hishtalshlus. But then you have Be'em Ashlishi Kimenu V'Nichi Lefanov. Then on the third day he will make us stand upright and we will live before him. So that's already a reference to Atzmos. We need a Gil, Atzmos, and Musa, and so forth. That's already in of Gil of Atzmos. And that's how we understand this idea of Shlishi Hamadaber. There's a Kel B'chinas Atzmos. That he's talking about the level of Atzmos. So in this pasuk we have both of them. We have the Lashon Nister, and then we have the Lashon Neichach. We have the level of Hishtalshlus, and then we have the level of Atzmos. That you will serve, you the Yidden, will serve the Eibishter. Shlishi Hamadaber Eimer Atzmos says, that when you Yidden will serve the Eibishter, he, the Lashon Nister, he's talking in the first person, he's talking about it in the third part. in the third person. That the Eibishter will bench your bread, your food, your bread and your water. In other words, Shem Havaya will bench your bread and your water, so that's still within Seder Ishtalshlus. However, then something even more than that will happen. That I will remove disease from amongst you. And now suddenly he switches to speak in the first person. The narrator, so to speak, of the Torah, this Shlishi Hamidaber, this the Atzmus that's saying the Torah to us, suddenly switches to speak in the first person, Shehu Ba'atzmai, that he himself, Atzmus itself, Yasir Machlam Mikirbecha, will remove disease from amongst you. And how is this accomplished? Side the first part that's talking about Shem Havaya, that Shem Havaya will bless your food. And also the second part, more importantly, that Atzmus will remove disease from amongst you. That's accomplished through Vavatem Savaylekechem. Furthermore, that I, Atzmus, will remove disease from amongst you. Even Atzmus itself, Yasir Machlam will remove disease from you. If so, the idea of Aveda, our service to the Eibishter in this world, when we serve the Eibishter, it actually has something to do. It matters to the level of Shlishi Hamidaber Shinin Atzmus. It matters to Atzmus when we do our Aveda. Okay, so to sum up what we said from the beginning of the Sas until now, that you find in the pasuk that he's talking about in several different levels. Primarily, he's talking in the level of Ishtalshlus and he's talking in the level of Atzmus. When the pasuk uses the third person, he will bench your food. So that's saying that Shem Havaya will. However, when the pasuk switches over to talk in the first person, that's the level of Atzmus that says that Atzmus, because of your serving the Eibishter, Atzmus will remove disease from you. So we see that we touch and we affect, so to speak, the level of Atzmus, because when we serve the Eibishter, now Atzmus does something. So we have an impact in what goes on Lamaila, even at the level of Atzmus. If so, we understand that Aveda matters also to this level of Shlishi Hamidaber Shinin Atzmus v'tzarich lavin. However, how can we understand this? How can Aveda reach there? If the pasuk says that our Aveda does not matter at the level of Atzmus, that our Aveda only matters at the level of Ishtalshlus, but not beyond that. There are a lot of dimensions to this question, and very, very interesting ones, but he doesn't go into all of this in the Maimer. Yeah, most famously is the question, if you're going to say, can you say that you're changing the Eibishter's mind when you're davening v'chulu?
What?
Can you say that you're changing Hashem's mind?
So you're doing you're making a new
Ratzah, but you're saying in essence is that initially Hashem was going to do this. Whatever. He doesn't get into that whole parsha over here, but like the Alter Rebbe, like the lashon of the Alter Rebbe in Geras HaKodesh is that after all of the explanations, the bottom line is that we're all ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim, and whatever the rational explanation that we can understand in the human mind is, the bottom line we know is we're ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. We have full faith in the Eibishter, and if in the Torah he told us to daven to him, and that when we daven to him, he's going to answer our davening. So we know that that's the way the system works. How can you answer the rational questions that come out of it? It's not an inning for this minor. But the bottom line is that over here he's only concerned. He's not concerned with the Havana problem of the Indian. He's concerned more with the psukim that say that im tzedakta matitin lei, v'rabu p'shecha matasele, and the Mamari Chazal that go along with those psukim. So how can we make them all work together? So there it says an original answer over here. The Rebbe says as follows: Ta'af shema ichbas leila kadosh baruch hu, even though the Medrash tells us clearly ma ichbas leila kadosh baruch hu, that it does not matter to the Eibishter in Izel dafke inyan ha'aveda atzma. That's the aveda itself. Hainu, the says, I mean to say, prate ha'aveda atzma ze ein negei lo yisparich. The details of the aveda, that's not negei to the Eibishter at the level of atzmas. Avol, however, the effect of the aveda, what happens when you do the Aveda, what you accomplish through it, that is Negei. I just need to find the page. Inin ha'ishapcha shalidei Aveda. Yeah.
168.
The ishapcha that's achieved through the Yid doing his Aveda. Hainu ma'shalidei Aveda nasa tziru fabrius, debrius ubrius ba'amla. This, that through the Yid serving the Eibishter, now you have a refinement of the creations. And there was Medaik in the Maimon Chazal. What are these brius? Brius, when do Chazal use this term of brius, of creations, when the only thing that they have going for them is that they are creations? There's nothing elevated about them. There's nothing good or important or special about them. In other words, they're creations that are on the lowest level. Beria pchusa, the lowliest of creations. Umikomokem, and even though it's in such a low state, it's at such a low level.
Bria, you said Bria Puva? Okay.
Yeah, pchusa, a lowly one. Umikomokem nasa gam behem tziruf. And nevertheless, even these lowliest of creations are refined and elevated. Shu inyan, what's this refinement? And we'll get to it by Riches later in the Maimer. Shu inyan is hapcha miyesh li'ayin. We transform it from being at the level of yesh, from being at the level of a creation that does not feel a likus, that is not interested in a likus, li'ayin. We elevate it to the level of ayin, where over there all that exists is a likus. In a zenegeh gam le'bchinas atzmus. That already matters to atzmus. So the Rebbe is miyashiv the stira. And this is what and this is what the pasuk is referencing. The idea of ishapcha is what the pasuk is referencing, that there has to be an aveda and that the aveda matters. So what the Rebbe answers is that when it comes to atzmus, the details of the aveda are not negeya. When it comes to hishtal shalus, so over there the details of the aveda are negeya. If a person shechts from this side or that side, and so to all of the other diyukim and the details in the mitzvahs, at the level of a shtal shalus, it makes all the difference. If you do it this way, then it's mamshich de'eris. If you do it the wrong way, it's not mamshich de'eris, it's negeya. But when negeya latzmus yisbarech, over there it doesn't matter. Those details don't matter. But what does matter, even at the level of atzmus, what you achieve through doing the mitzvahs properly, which is that you achieve is hapcha, that you transform the lowest levels of creation to a place where the Eibishter can reveal himself, which in most places in Chassidus is the basic idea of dira b'tachteinu. You elevate things so that they could be a place where the Eibishter can reveal himself, can manifest himself. It's interesting to note that earlier we brought the Maimar Chazal le'nitnu hamitzvus elokatei letzaref behem sabrius, right? And over there we said that letzaref sabrius means in order to improve the creations. And over there we were speaking that the din of tzira fabrius is on a very low level, that to the Eibishter hotas nicht. That doesn't have to do with the Eibishter. All it has to do with is the creations down here in this world, that the Torah was given in order to bring them a perfection, to help them out, to help them be able to be proper things. Over here he says there's a whole other way of teaching tzira fabrius. Not in the lesson that you're improving the brius for the brius sake, but tzira fabrius means that you're being mahapich the brius. You're changing them from brius ba'alma to places where the Eibishter can reveal himself. This is from yesh, you're turning them into ayin. This is the idea of ishapcha, and that's negeya to atzmus. And that's what the pasuk means when he says that you will do your aveda, like we'll see further in the Maimer, to the extent where you're also doing in the aveda of ishapcha. So such an aveda is also negeya to atzmus. Okay, good enough. Okay. There are two parts of the mitzvahs that we do. One part is that we follow the mitzvahs exactly what they say. It says that on Sukkot you have to shake a lulav and esek, so we take a lulav and esek. We don't take some other random thing that we think works better. Yeah. It says on Shabbos you're not allowed to use electricity, so we don't use electricity. We don't say that for the sake of Shabbos and for the sake of the crowd to come into the shul, we're going to have a choir singing with an accompanying orchestra, because that's how we feel spiritual and that's how we feel able. That's the better way of serving the Eibster, because we're more enlightened people. Chas v'shalom to say that. That's the most basic, fundamental part of the mitzvahs, that you have to do the mitzvahs as the Torah told us. This is the way you do the mitzvahs. That's the first part of the mitzvah. Now, however, when we do the mitzvah properly, we also cause a transformation of this world. We change the worldly things. For example, the physical building of the shul that we're davening in, or the siddurim that we use, or the tables, or the food that we ate, which gives us the ability to now stand and daven to the Eibishter. And as we're going to see soon in the Maimer, more importantly, what's going on inside our hearts, we change that to serve the Eibishter. That's the idea of Ishapcha. And that's a much higher aspect in the mitzvahs that is Negea Ta'atzmus. Okay? So let's go weiter. So he says, on this Aveda of Ishapcha, he says that there's the idea of Aveda that's Negea Ta'atzmus, that through this Aveda, not only will the Eibishter bench your food, which that is which this bracha comes from the level of Havai, which has to do with Ishtalshalos, since through his Aveda, the person accomplished, brought about refinement of the creations, which is the idea of the Aveda of Ishapcha. I, in the first person Atzmos, will remove disease from amongst you. This is almost an aside, the end of this part of the Maimer. So I'll say it a little faster. With this, we can understand the chiddush of what he's saying, that he's going to remove disease from amongst the. In other places, we see it says that whatever disease you've seen in Mitzrayim, I will make sure that you don't have that the person doesn't have the disease, that disease does not exist by the Yid. It's a level of a machla, but it's ken yezayin and it's ken nitzah. It's not the machla that is there, that must be, that's part of the natural order of things, that's part of this world. It could be maybe not. That this disease won't be there, which is not such a big chiddush, because it's not something that had to be there in the first place. So therefore, the fact that it's not there is just one of many ways that things could have been, and it's not such a big deal that it wasn't there. However, over here he says something much greater. There is a machla, and it's something that has to exist. Nevertheless, I will still remove it. Why? How is this possible that the machla is there? And it's there for real. In other words, it's something that has to be. It's not maybe maybe not. It's a machla because the situation is a situation of a machla, and nevertheless it gets removed. How's that possible? Since over here we're talking about b'chinas ha'atzmos, so it's b'keich ha'atzmos to even remove such a disease that is a real existence, that the world demands, the natural state of things demand that it must be there. Even such a natural disease. It's what the Rebbe explains in the beard of the third pasuk. And then it says, very, very short, very, very geschmack punim de of the Rebbe about this. But this pasuk goes through three different levels. It says, the first of all, when a yid starts and he's a young child, the first thing that you have to teach him is a yid is not fearful of anything. End of story. You're a yid. You're not afraid of anything that the world or they're going to throw at you. Then he gets a little older, you continue and you teach him why. You explain it to him. Farvas, because they're going to come and make schemes. They're going to come and make plans and try to hurt us. And the Eibishter will turn it into knots. And now you're already explaining to him, you're giving him a reason. However, on this level, what was the Yid fearing? Not nature itself. He was fearing some force that was acting within nature, trying to maneuver nature against him. The guy that was scheming, and in this the Eibishter says is going to protect him. However, later on in life, as the Yid gets even older, he reaches a level where it's not pshat that there is some technical reason that he's afraid, that there's a guy who's trying to manipulate things to work against him. Rather, it's Tava Elam itself is causing him problems. Vadzikna knew he's old. When the person is old, it's the very nature of the world. The world, it's an absolute part of the fabric of the world that old age comes. And then seva also, and there's problems that come from it. Says the Abishter, nevertheless, Vadzikna knew Vatsevani Esbel. Why? How could I save you even from what the fabric of the universe itself requires should happen to you? Because because I'm the one who created the whole thing, and therefore I will do whatever I want with the whole thing. So Islam, that the Rebbe is saying over here, this idea that Atzmus, it's a similar idea. That even when Machla is a real fact and is required and is not something that could be, could not be. Spashat nature requires that there should be a Machla now, and that's why there's a Machla. Even such a type of a Machla, says the Eivishter, I'll take it away. He just asks that you do the Aved of Ishapcha. The Kolzeh. When does this happen? That you do the Aved of but I said, which then your mamshech from the level of Atzmus that you should have this Vasiresi Machlo Mikirbecha. Okay, I thought we would be able to get much further, but Elamai, it's already close to 40 minutes into the Maimer, and we still have a whole sif on Yira and then a whole sif on Ava. So we're going to have to leave Yira and Ava for next year. Be'ezus Hashem Yisbarach.
You're going to fall asleep?